USC is back, baby. Want to know how I know?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day, whether you're watching the show on YouTube. Wherever you are going to download this podcast, it's going to be free, and I'm going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So you want to know how I know USC is back? Well, they're on probation for the next year. Some things just never go away. At least it feels like that when you're a USC football fan. Ever since Lincoln Riley took over the program 3 years ago, right, there's been minimal drama. Very little drama. Nothing to talk about going on off the field. He hasn't had to cover up anything or explain away why a certain player made a boneheaded decision, why one of his assistant coaches did something that you probably wish he didn't do. But at the same time, you know what? Lincoln Riley is no Kirby Smart. So while Lincoln Riley's players don't jump behind the wheel, travel 150 miles per hour after they've been drinking, Kirby Smart's team, his players, they're not on probation, to my knowledge. However, Coach Riley, his team is. For the next year, they're on probation for 1 year. The NCAA announced Tuesday that the enforcement staff and the USC Trojans have agreed to violations and penalties from a level 2 violation stemming from analysts providing on and off the field instructions. Oh no. I cannot believe they did that. Are you serious? If you're not watching me on YouTube, that's me feigning sarcasm, clutching the pearls. Not really. The issue came up when a special teams analyst, it's assumed to be USC special teams coach, Ryan Doherty, through his unnamed, although he isn't named in the actual resolution, quote, he provided technical and tactical instruction to at least one current football student athlete during the 2023 spring practice. Okay, so this happened last year, 2023, during the spring. USC's known about this for a while. The NCAA enforcement staff received that information and sent a letter of inquiry to USC in May of 2023. Later that year, in August, USC submitted a self-report which confirmed the special teams analyst engaged in a brief 5 to 10 minute informal, unscheduled meetings with two football student athletes who requested the special teams analyst's assistance and feedback in reviewing their spring 2023 practice film. The horror. Oh no. Can you believe USC broke that rule? So what are the penalties? Not a lot. USC has been placed on a 1-year probation starting today, November 12th, 2024, and it'll go through November 11th, 2025. And the university has to pay a $50,000 fine. In addition to that, USC will have to restrict various analysts who were involved in the issue for 6 consecutive days during this season. Oh no, what will USC ever do? So USC self-imposed a penalty to reduce accountable athletically related activities for the football program by 25 hours during the season. I'm not sure how you enforce that, but whatever. The Trojans also added a full-time athletics compliance staff member dedicated to football monitoring responsibilities. So that's how they're going to do it. They hired someone to make sure to look at their watch. Right, got to stop. Make sure nobody's talking to anybody they shouldn't be talking to. But you know what? Here's my honest opinion about this. I could not care any less that USC is being put on probation, especially for a secondary violation. which isn't even a violation anymore. That's the best part about this whole thing. $50,000 fine. Who cares? Somewhere in this country, there was a recruit who just got a $50,000 NIL offer to sign with that program, or at least to verbally commit. $50,000 fine. USC spends more than that on an official visit weekend, like times 10. But leave it to USC to break a rule that 1 year before, and then the rule doesn't exist any longer when they're actually hit with a penalty. So starting in 2024, a football staff, not sure if you're aware of this year, football staffs can be as big as they want. They can have as many coaches as they want, as many analysts as they want, and there's no restrictions. They can talk, they can teach, instruct, develop. And if you think back, this is just so USC, right? It took a few years, for it to finally come to fruition. However, when Pete Carroll's program was put on probation, name, image, and likeness, NIL, it was illegal. Now it's actually encouraged. You need it. In fact, if you don't pay players, your team is going to struggle to win games. We know USC has been struggling with their NIL during its infancy. Supposedly they got that all under control. They're walking now. They're getting ready to run. So what I do find kind of funny and ironic, that the reason USC is on probation, it has to do with special teams of all the position groups. I mean, if you think about it, Coach Riley has been so steadfast since he's been at USC about why he doesn't hire a full-time special teams coach. He has one now. He promoted Ryan Doherty to that after they knew about the situation. So that's why he doesn't. I don't even think Coach Riley cares about this, to be honest with you. So again, the fact that this is where the violation stemmed from, when USC special teams haven't really even been that special, it only kind of adds some insult to the hypocrisy of this whole thing. Again, this was a rule last year when USC allegedly admitted breaking this rule. It's not a rule anymore, but they're going to pay the piper. They're going to be put on probation for a year. What does that mean? That means if they break any more rules, now the NCAA can come in with a hammer. So again, while I don't give a rip about this violation, what I do care about a lot is how USC only has 4 wins, despite Lincoln Riley, his blatant and his wanton disregard for the rules, developing players. I mean, can you believe he would break that rule, allowing an analyst, a special teams analyst, to talk to a student athlete for 5 to 10 minutes about his kicking performance? Oh my God. No wonder USC's not in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm dripping with sarcasm right now, folks. USC breaking rules that shouldn't be rules and then self-reporting, it's just so on brand for USC. And the reason why USC, and I'm using finger quotes, self-reported, is because allegedly someone snitched on the program. Don't know who, not going to point any fingers, doesn't matter. But somebody let the NCAA know that USC's breaking rules again. The fact that USC admitted they even broke this rule, it would be like me admitting to my parents when I was a kid living at home, but yeah, you know what? I broke curfew by 30 minutes. You weren't paying attention, but I'm going to tell you now. Why? Why would you do that? Paul D. Remember him? Remember that? Well, I'll keep the I'll keep the descriptive words to a minimum. Paul D., the guy responsible for USC receiving essentially the death penalty. He once said that high-profile athletes demand high-profile compliance. Remember, everything that USC was accused of, they didn't do anything wrong. It was the timing of everything. And today, everything that USC was penalized for is actually encouraged. You've got to do it now. So I'm thinking, all right, if high-profile athletes need high-profile compliance, well, doesn't that mean that a high-profile head coach like Lincoln Riley should be maybe putting together a 34-game winning streak, a couple of Heisman, at least two more Heismans, a couple of national championships before you're putting your team on probation, before you finished your third year in charge of the program? Definitely USC is back, baby. Only USC can figure out a way to be on probation without even winning anything of significance. Again, this is a real nothing burger. I'm talking about it because it's the news of the day. But in the grand scheme of things, big picture, this should not and will not affect USC's program going forward. And if it does, USC's got much deeper problems. And as Urban Meyer would say, it's time to look under the hood. I don't know about you. I don't go to a lot of live events. I go to USC football games, USC basketball games, and on an occasion, I'll hit up a concert. When was the last time you went to any type of live event, USC game, concert, comedy show? Are you an NBA fan? You a Laker fan? You want to go check out LeBron and Bronny? Well, you can't check them out anymore. Bronny's down in the G League now. Anyways, Game Time. That's where you want to go if you want to get tickets. They've got this feature called Game Time Picks. Helps you get tickets for your favorite live event quicker, easier, and less expensive. They have a feature that it's going to filter out all the fluff. It's only going to show you the best seats at the best price, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of different tickets. And with their view from your seat feature, you're going to know exactly what you're paying for before you check out. You'll know what it looks like to sit in that seat before you pay. And with the Game Time guarantee, you'll always get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So after practice on Tuesday, Coach Riley talked with the media, like he always does. Obviously, the question about USC being put on probation, that came up. You know what was really obvious by watching Coach Riley answer the question? His body language. That Chestershire smirk he had on his face, the gritting of his teeth. He doesn't care. He knows it's not a big deal. He said they've known about the outcome for months, and basically said it's the big issues that results in a coach getting suspended, and this one didn't. The NCAA is putting a lot of, if the rule is big and the head coach is responsible for it, head coach is going to get suspended. Didn't happen. Like I said, it's a secondary violation. It's not even a violation anymore. That's what makes us so, I'll use the term, difficult to accept. It's not difficult to accept, but it's like, why are we doing this? Really? Why couldn't the NCAA just say, you know what? You were caught. Don't do it again. Here's a slap on the wrist. No probation, nothing. Coach Riley said this, look, you can go to 100 different schools and you're going to have 100 different ways of how things are being interpreted with these types of gray areas. That's why it's like, you know what? He almost rolled his eyes at this whole thing. So as far as, Coach Riley and, having control of the program, he's fine there. There's plenty that I jump on Coach Riley about when it comes to offensive play calling, clock management, making sure the team is developing and learning how to win. Talk about that all the time. This type of stuff, I could not care any less about. In fact, I'm hoping that Coach Riley and the staff and the program, I'm hoping they're pushing the envelope as close to the edge of the table as possible. You have to. If you want to compete and you want to be successful, you gotta bend the rules. Don't break them, bend them. Find the loopholes. Do what a Dan Lanning does with, trying to control the clock late in the game. Do stuff that Lane Kiffin does. Having a squirrel run out on the field. Obviously, he didn't. But there are ways that you can control the game. You can bend the rules without breaking the rules. That's my only point I'm trying to say. Also, after practice, Coach Riley, he was asked a little bit more about Jayden Maiava, specifically about his downfield passing, big arm. Coach was like, he didn't really want to address it in that type of that situation where you're comparing his arm strength to Miller Moss's. He said he didn't want to phrase things like that, and there's been something missing. In other words, that's not why USC's losing, because we're not throwing the ball downfield, because we're not going deep. He didn't want to put it. He didn't want to put it, have it under that type of narrative, that type of construct. He said at times, USC, we've run it well, and then there's been times where we've thrown it well. The thing that's been missing has been finishing games with wins. We want to go play good and win. That's how we ended it. With that being said, okay, so Coach Riley was being a little bit more diplomatic, comparing Miller Moss to Jayden Maiava, even though they have similar skill sets. When you start to peel back the layers, you can see the differences between Miller's game and with Jayden's game. Jayden is 6'4", 220 pounds, bigger, more mobile, more athletic. Miller Moss tends to be more cerebral, more accurate, more of a game manager type of quarterback. So when Coach Riley was done talking, some of the USC wide receivers got in front of the camera, spoke to the media. And here's what I'll give you a quote from three of the wide receivers. So from Mekhi Lemon, talking about Jayden Maiava. He can throw that deep ball for sure. His arm talent is crazy. Kyle Ford, he's got an arm. He can throw that thing. Okay. Deuce Robinson, quote, a playmaker, so naturally gifted. Those are all positive things. Big arm, he can fling it. I'll tell you what, if he's accurate as well, it's going to make it even better. So if you notice in those three things, big arm, crazy arm talent, he can throw that thing. He's a playmaker, naturally gifted. Quarterback, you'd like to have the word accuracy associated with you. I'm not saying he's not an accurate passer. I'm just saying I did not hear that in the descriptions coming from the wide receivers. When you're listening, when you're watching Jayden talk to the media, you're starting to get a sense that he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable in the starting role. He actually got into this media scrum a little bit more upbeat, wasn't as nervous compared to last week. I think the biggest challenge for Jayden in this game and going forward, it's going to be just gaining the confidence of the team. I'm not saying they're not confident that he can't get the job done, but there's a difference in being confident that he can do it and being confident that he's doing it. Two different things. So the more the team sees him perform, accomplish, wins, not throw interceptions, that chemistry will continue to grow. That confidence among his teammates will continue to grow. So that's the thing I'm going to be looking for in this game, is the communication process between Jayden, the wide receivers, the running backs, the offensive line. How is that all working out together? Coach Riley was also asked about the upcoming game. He was asked about his friend Dana Holgerson, who is now the new offensive coordinator, play caller for Nebraska. He'll be calling plays this Saturday. Coach Riley was, he thought that was interesting. He's happy for him. I'm not sure what kind of impact he'll have on this game, but I think it'll be a little bit more. I would anticipate seeing a lot of, I'll say a lot, some trickeration, misdirection, something to kind of help Nebraska's quarterback, whoever it's going to be, kind of get back on track. Speaking of their quarterback, will the freshman play? Will Dylan Raiola play? Head coach Matt Rule spoke to the media on Monday, and he said that Dylan's been dealing with a back injury, and it goes back to their last game that they had against, that would have been UCLA 2 weeks ago, and that he was going to try and practice this week. So if Dylan can't go, the other quarterbacks you have over there are Heinrich Harburg and Daniel Kalen. So we're not quite sure which quarterback will be playing. I would anticipate Dylan Raiola. I think they'll have him ready. This is what Coach Rule had to say. All right, Dylan will try to practice tomorrow. We'll see where he's at. We'll get both him and Heinrich ready. I think it's just a possibility, right? I mean, we're getting him, Danny, and Heinrich all ready. I'll know more. We're not practicing today. We practiced last night. Not really much of a practice. I hate when coaches talk like that, because I'm trying to read this verbatim to you guys, and you hear this, would it kill coaches? Would it kill people just to talk in complete sentences? Whatever. I'm complaining. I'll stop. What it does sound like, though, is the true freshman, Dylan Raiola. He started off really well. He was the talk of the town. Everyone was comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. They wear the same jersey number. Dylan was even, mocking some of the same mannerisms from Patrick. But once you started getting some game film on him, either he hit the wall or the other teams are scouting him really well. Probably a combination of both. Remember, he's a former 5-star, and he's been struggling the second half of the season. He started off going 176 for 272, completing 64, almost 65% of his passes. So he completed 176 passes on 272 passing attempts. His completion percentage was 64.7, and he threw 1,921 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Now, starting in October, it's been kind of a struggle for him. His numbers have really taken a downturn. He's 76 for 130. He's only completing 58% of his passes, 174 yards per game. And he's got 1 touchdown pass. And of his 8 interceptions, 6 have come from in October going forward. And Nebraska's 1-3 in those games. Remember, Nebraska started the season 5-1. One other note on this game coming up Saturday at the Coliseum. USC, they're busting out an alternate jersey. You know how I feel about. Yeah, well, I'm okay with the throwback jerseys. USC's going to wear a 1972 throwback. It's the one that has you've got the white, then the fat gold, and then the white shoulder stripes. It looks, remember the old tube socks? If you grew up in the 70s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the shoulder design. It'll be on the jersey. Instead of the crescent, you're going to have the 3 lines: gold, white, gold. 1972, team won a national championship. So why not? Again, as long as it's not a black jersey, I'm okay with the throwbacks. Just keep the black away from the cardinal gold. That's all I'm saying. Hey, get NFL fans, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, if you're a new customer, if you can bet $5, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and you can do everything all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game and you want to check out the latest stats, you want to view live play-by-play, and you want to do more than that, maybe you want to place more bets, get on over to FanDuel.com. If you join today as a new customer, they're going to start you with $150 in bonus bets if you place a $5 bet and win. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. If I would have told you 3 years ago that near the end of Lincoln Riley's third year at USC, he would have a worse record than Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, and Clay Helton, what would your response be? As you know, I do the Inside the Trojan Huddle panel show every week over there on WeAreSC.com. When Chris Arledge asked us that question, he asked that question to Eric McKinney and I called him a crackhead. It's like, no way would I have thought that would have been possible. But it's true. Clay Helton, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian all have better records than Coach Riley. Remember when Coach Riley said year one it would be USC's worst roster going forward when he took over the program? Well, that roster won 11 games. Since then, and granted, he's got 3 more regular season games to go this year. Since USC won 11 games, Lincoln Riley's team has won 12 games. That ain't good. I mean, USC's road to Valhalla, to heaven, it's taken a really long, circuitous. They're taking the scenic route. I didn't want to take it. I did not want to take the scenic route to get there. But don't get me wrong. I think USC's 2023 and 2024 recruiting classes are going to start paying off starting next season. The reason why it's taking USC longer to get where they need to go, just go back to the 2021 recruiting class. And if you want to go back to 2020, fine, you can go that far back as well. But it's the 2021 recruiting class. It's those members that should be having a huge impact this year. They're not. So if you're looking for the reason why the season's kind of turned into chop suey, just a mishmash of some good stuff in there that you kind of just throw in a bowl. Let's go over that 2021 recruiting class. Corey Foreman, Jackson Dart, Sierra Wright, Rajon Davis, Julian Simon, Michael Trigg, Prophet Brown, Jay Toya, Kalen Bullock, Miller Moss, Jalen Smith, Michael Jackson III, Kyron Hudson, Anthony Beavers Jr., Zamarian Gordon, Brandon Campbell, Joseph Manjack, Mason Murphy, Lake McCree, Colin Mobley, Ty Buchanan, Maximus Gibbs. Out of that group, who has played significant minutes and has made an impact? Rajon Davis, not really. Prophet Brown, not really. I'm talking about players who are still on the roster. Kalen Bullock is having a great time with the Houston Texans. He made an impact at USC. Miller Moss, he waited his turn, became the starting quarterback. Turns out that his time might be up. Jalen Smith, when he's healthy and he's playing cornerback, Doug Belk found his role. Kyron Hudson, role player, turned into one of the go-to guys at wide receiver this year. Anthony Beavers, spot time player. Mason Murphy, okay. Lake McCree, Okay, stay healthy. Everybody else, that's it. That's it. And if you want to go back further, go back to 2020. Remember, that was a 12-man recruiting class. Who's left? Kobe Pepe almost left the program. Jonah Monheim. Tuli Tuiapelotu. Those are the three guys. So if you're wondering why USC is struggling, and you're saying, well, why couldn't they just get guys out of the transfer portal? It's not that easy. It's easy to say, well, just pay the money. How much are you donating? It's easy to spend other people's money, but you got to be able to recruit players. You got to be able to develop them. The transfer portal is to fill holes. USC is filling too many holes. That's the problem. All right. Problem with this episode of Locked on USC is it's over, but I'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Talk about practice. Any other news that comes up, might have some recruiting news. We'll see what's up with the quarterback situation. Has Julian Lewis made a move yet? Has USC made a move with Husong Longstreet yet? If you missed yesterday's episode of Locked on USC, when you're done watching this one, go check it out. I got all of your information you need to know about. So until that next episode, everyone, you know what to do.